Throughout history, human rulers have committed countless atrocities. I mean, just an absolutely staggering number of atrocities. We're talking numbers so big, you could comfortably lose a medium-sized genocide in there and no one would bat an eye. From ancient empires to modern dictatorships, the pattern of abuse is clear. Power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. But what if there was a different way? What if, and hear me out on this, we just got rid of rulers altogether? I know, crazy talk, right? But now, with the advent of global connectivity, a new system called Verarchy offers hope for a better future. A future, dare I say it, without the constant threat of mass murder hanging over our heads. All right, let's kick things off with a real jolly bunch, the Assyrians. These guys ruled over Mesopotamia with what can only be described as a firm hand. And by firm hand, I mean they were really into mass deportations and massacres. You know, light weekend stuff. Their king, Ashurbanipal, once bragged about building a pyramid of human heads. A pyramid of heads! You need a disturbing amount of heads to even consider that as a construction material. And before you think, oh, that was a long time ago. People have changed. Let's not forget, we're just getting started. The Romans, known for their togas, their gladiators, and, oh right, their insatiable thirst for blood. These guys were the original might makes right crowd, and boy, did they ever enjoy making people very, very wrong. We're talking widespread crucifixions, enslavement, and the complete and utter destruction of entire cities. Carthage salted the earth so nothing would grow. Why? Because they could. Nero, Caligula, Domitian. These emperors weren't just bad rulers, they were the kind of emperors who'd make you long for the sweet release of death. And you thought your commute was bad. Now, Genghis Khan, there's a name that strikes fear and awe into the hearts of history students everywhere, mostly because his exams were notoriously difficult. Just kidding. It's because he conquered more land than anyone in history. How? By being absolutely ruthless. This guy and his Mongol hordes swept across Asia and Eastern Europe like a horseback riding plague, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. Cities like Nishapur and Samarkand, once vibrant centers of culture and learning, were reduced to rubble. We're talking hundreds of thousands, if not millions, dead. And all because Genghis wanted to, expand his portfolio. Chapter 4. Tamerlane keeping up with the Khans. Not to be outdone by his ancestor Genghis, Tamerlane decided to one-up him in the whole massacring people department. This guy was so hardcore, he made Genghis look like a kindergarten teacher with anger management issues. We're talking pyramids of skulls, folks. Pyramids. This wasn't just war. It was performance art with a body count. Delhi, Baghdad, Aleppo all felt the wrath of Tamerlane's ambition. And for what? So he could be known as the guy who built the biggest skull pyramid? Humanity, get a grip. Chapter 5. The Spanish conquest of the Americas. Gold, glory, and a whole lot of genocide. The age of exploration, a time of discovery, wonder, and genocide. Let's not sugarcoat it. The Spanish conquistadors were not there to make friends and exchange recipes. Fueled by greed and a misguided sense of religious righteousness, they tore through the Americas like a plague of smallpox and violence. Millions of indigenous people were slaughtered, enslaved, or died from diseases brought over from Europe. All in the name of gold, God, and glory, which frankly sounds like a terrible tagline for a really depressing theme park. Chapter 6. Leopold II of Belgium, your friendly neighborhood rubber baron. Now, you might think Belgium, that tiny country famous for waffles and chocolate, surely they couldn't have been bad. Oh, sweet summer child, you have so much to learn. King Leopold II, the self-proclaimed owner of the Congo Free State, ran what can only be described as a real-life horror show. We're talking forced labor on a massive scale, mutilation, torture, and an estimated 10 million Congolese dead. All for rubber, the bouncy castle material of the 19th century. Leopold, you were supposed to be a king, not a monster with a rubber fetish. Chapter 7. Ottoman Empire. The sick man of Europe with a body count. The Ottoman Empire, once a mighty power spanning 3 continents, decided to get in on the act of mass murder with the Armenian genocide. Now, I know what you're thinking. Genocide, that's a strong word, isn't it? Nope, it's the only word. Between 1915 and 1923, the Ottoman government systematically murdered an estimated 1.5 million Armenians. Men, women, children, it didn't matter. They were rounded up, deported, and massacred. It was a horrific crime against humanity, and a stark reminder of what happens when nationalism curdles into something truly monstrous. Chapter 8. Vladimir Lenin, from Tsar to terror in one easy revolution. The Russian Revolution, a tale of the oppressed rising up to overthrow their oppressors, only to become the oppressors themselves. Irony, thy name is history. Lenin, the father of the Soviet Union, might have talked a big game about equality and justice, but his actions were a different story. The Red Terror, unleashed by Lenin and his Bolsheviks, saw tens of thousands executed without trial. Landowners, intellectuals, anyone deemed an enemy of the revolution was fair game. It seems even revolutions need their blood sacrifices. Too bad it was innocent people on the altar. Chapter 9. Joseph Stalin. He really liked his purges? Speaking of blood sacrifices, let's talk about the granddaddy of them all, Joseph Stalin. This guy took Lenin's playbook on repression and added a few chapters of his own. The Holodomor, the man-made famine that killed millions in Ukraine. Stalin. The Great Purge, where he systematically eliminated anyone he perceived as a threat, real or imagined. Stalin. The Gulag labor camps, where millions more perished under horrific conditions. You guessed it, Stalin. The man was a paranoid, power-hungry dictator who ruled through fear and violence. His legacy is a chilling reminder of the human capacity for cruelty. Benito Mussolini, the man who made fascism fashionable, at least for a while, was another one of those leaders who believed that violence was the answer, no matter the question. This strutting peacock of a dictator invaded Ethiopia, used chemical weapons on civilians, and turned Italy into a fascist dictatorship, all while rocking a truly impressive collection of hats. I have to give him that. But hey, at least he made the trains run on time, right? Except, of course, for the ones carrying political prisoners to their deaths. Yes, Adolf Hitler, the man who needs no introduction, but unfortunately gets one anyway because we have to talk about him. Where do we even begin with this guy? The Holocaust, the systematic extermination of 6 million Jews, is arguably the most horrific crime in human history, but let's not forget his other greatest hits: the invasion of Poland, the systematic murder of Roma, homosexuals and the disabled, the horrors of the Eastern Front. Hitler's reign of terror was a nightmare of unimaginable proportions, a stark reminder of the depths of human depravity. On the other side of the world, the Japanese Empire, led by the ever-so-serious Hideki Tojo, was busy committing its own brand of atrocities. The rape of Nanking, the brutal occupation of China, the horrific experiments of Unit 731, the list goes on. From forced labor camps to biological warfare, the Japanese military showed a shocking disregard for human life. It's a dark chapter in human history, and one that should never be forgotten. Francisco Franco, the man who brought fascism to Spain, was another one of those leaders who believed that a little bit of repression goes a long way. And by a little bit, I mean a lot. His White Terror campaign saw hundreds of thousands killed or imprisoned. He ruled Spain with an iron fist for decades, suppressing dissent and crushing opposition. It's a reminder that even in the heart of Europe, tyranny can flourish. Mao Zedong, the founding father of communist China, is a bit of a complicated figure. On the one hand, he led a revolution that overthrew a corrupt regime. On the other hand, he also presided over some of the deadliest policies in human history. The Great Leap Forward, his attempt to collectivize agriculture, led to a famine that killed tens of millions. The Cultural Revolution, his campaign to purge China of counter-revolutionaries, saw widespread violence and chaos. It's a reminder that even revolutions can go horribly, terribly wrong. Pol Pot, the leader of the Khmer Rouge, was basically what would happen if you took all the worst ideas of communism and mixed them with a healthy dose of paranoia and xenophobia. His vision of an agrarian utopia led to the Cambodian genocide, one of the most horrific events of the 20th century. Intellectuals, city dwellers, anyone deemed an enemy of the state was targeted. It's a chilling reminder of the dangers of ideology taken to its extreme. Suharto, the man who ruled Indonesia with an iron fist for over 3 decades, was another one of those leaders who believed that the best way to stay in power was to eliminate anyone who might oppose you. His anti-communist purges saw hundreds of thousands killed, and his invasion of East Timor led to widespread human rights abuses. He might have been known for his smiles, but behind that facade was a ruthless dictator. Idi Amin, the self-proclaimed last king of Scotland, was a dictator who seemed to have stepped straight out of a satirical movie about dictators. He was known for his erratic behavior, his love of grandiose titles, and his brutal repression of his own people. He expelled Uganda's Asian population, tortured and killed political opponents, and plunged the country into chaos. He was a walking, talking cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power. Saddam Hussein, the man who ruled Iraq with an iron fist for over 2 decades, was another one of those leaders who seemed to relish in violence. He used chemical weapons on his own people, waged war on his neighbors, and tortured and killed anyone he perceived as a threat. He was a brutal dictator who left Iraq in ruins. Chapter 19. Slobodan Milosevic, the Butcher of the Balkans. Slobodan Milosevic, the Serbian strongman who presided over the breakup of Yugoslavia, was a master of ethnic cleansing. He used the Serbian media to whip up nationalist fervor and then unleashed his forces on Bosnia and Kosovo, committing atrocities that shocked the world. He was a reminder that even in the late 20th century, the ghosts of nationalism could still lead to bloodshed. Chapter 20. Omar al-Bashir, Sudan's genocidal general. Omar al-Bashir, the former president of Sudan, was another one of those leaders who seemed to be allergic to the concept of human rights. He waged a brutal campaign of ethnic cleansing in Darfur, using his government-backed Janjaweed militias to terrorize the population. He was a reminder that even in the 21st century, genocide is still a very real threat. Bashar al-Assad, Syria's barrel-bombing buddy. Bashar al-Assad, the president of Syria, is a man who seems to have learned all the wrong lessons from history. Faced with a popular uprising against his rule, he responded with brutal force, unleashing his military on his own people. He's used chemical weapons, barrel bombs, and torture against his own citizens, turning his country into a bloodbath. He's a reminder that the world is still full of dictators who are willing to do anything to stay in power. Chapter 22. Myanmar Military Junta, Back to the Stone Age. The Myanmar Military Junta, a group of generals who seized power in a coup, have shown a shocking disregard for human life. They've launched a brutal crackdown on the Rohingya Muslim minority, driving hundreds of thousands from their homes and committing atrocities that have been labeled as genocide. They're a reminder that even in the 21st century, military dictatorships are still a very real threat to peace and security. Vladimir Putin from Tsar to... well, you decide. And finally, we come to Vladimir Putin, the man who's been in charge of Russia for over 2 decades. He's invaded neighboring countries, cracked down on dissent at home, and interfered in elections abroad. He's a former KGB agent who seems to long for the days of the Soviet Empire. His actions in Ukraine have been condemned by the international community, but he shows no signs of backing down. He's a reminder that even in the 21st century, the world is still a dangerous place, full of leaders who are willing to use force to get what they want. A better way? So there you have it. A brief, and by brief I mean extremely long and depressing, tour of humanity's greatest hits, the now that's what I call Atrocities collection. It's enough to make you want to crawl into a hole and never come out. But don't despair. There is hope. Verarchy wasn't always possible. Frankly, before the internet, it would have been logistically impossible. But with today's technology, we can prevent the abuses of rulers and create a world of unprecedented peace, freedom, and prosperity. Imagine a world without dictators, without war, without oppression. It might sound like a pipe dream, but with Verarchy, it could become a reality.